Hi friends. Today I'm going to talk about me and Mike and how I met and a little bit about our relationship so you can get to know us a little bit better. Uh, so they say that every love story is unique and ours is no exception. It was filled with love and laughter and a lot of growth and countless memories, some heartache, and not everything was perfect. So I hope people don't think that's why I'm telling this story because it wasn't perfect, but it was perfectly and beautifully ours, and so I wouldn't change that for the world. Uh, our love story is one that shaped who I am today, and just like life does, it often takes a turn that you don't expect. And so this is just the story of Mike and Janice, and it's a story of love and loss and laughter. Always so much laughter. I think that's the thing I miss the most about it because he was the funniest person I ever met. Well, after myself, because I used to think I was super funny, but now that I've met him and I knew him, he was the funniest person I knew. And so this story is also about um, the love after loss and how I am finding hope again. So I hope you stick with me and learn a little bit about my Mike and how we met and that sort of thing. So I'll tell you just to get caught up a little bit. I had been married before when I was 27, and I think that lasted 5 years. And it was a marriage that I hoped and I thought would be the one I wanted, but it wasn't. We weren't made for each other, and that was obvious because he found somebody else. But um, that really did shape me, and I think I was divorced at 30, 34, 33. And so I always had hope that I would find somebody uh, in the next few years to maybe even find them and be able to have a family still with them. But that wasn't the case. I don't have any biological children of my own. And but when I was about 37-ish, I was tired of my life and I was dating a couple younger guys. I used to look super young for my age. So when I was in my mid 30s, I was dating like 27 and 28-year-olds. And a woman in her mid to late 30s is a lot in a different space than a man in his early 20s or late 20s. And so I moved from a big city, Denver, down to Colorado Springs with my sister, and she was just getting out of a relationship, and so we lived together, and I was in this new town and I didn't know anybody, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna join Match.com and see if I could find somebody my own age, and see, just I didn't know anybody in this new town, so I was like, maybe they could take me to dinner or a movie or something. And so I met a few guys on there, and it wasn't what I wanted. One was clearly married because you can only call him at certain times of day and he could never meet. And the other one called me a liberal hippie, which was so laughable that I still crack up about it today. And so I had canceled my subscription to Match because I don't know if you still do, but at that time you had to subscribe. And on the last day that I was having that membership, this one guy, he said hi and he liked my something. I don't even remember. This was over 10 years ago now, but he liked me, and so I said hello, and if you wanted to talk, I'm sorry this is so forward, but here's my phone number because it's my last day and I can't talk on this app. And so if you want to talk, please, text me or whatever. And so he did. And I'm looking through his pictures, and like, I've always been a big girl, and I'm very clear on my profiles that this is who I am. If you don't like it, then that's fine, move on, because there's somebody for everybody, I believe. And in his pictures, he was so cute, and he was like all fit, and he had pictures of him riding a bike, and uh, I think doing like some kind of run with his friends. And so I was like, oh, this guy, he's not gonna like me or whatever. So we actually talked over the phone. We would, this was before really you would FaceTime somebody, but we would text and we would talk on the phone, and we did that for about a month because Mike worked all the time. um, and so it took a month for us to actually meet in person. But one day I was just like, you know what? Why don't you just come out and meet me? And I was like, I'll find somewhere safe because I didn't know if he was a creep. Like, I didn't know if he would. He seemed so perfect, like talking to him. We had so much in common. Oh, excuse me. My dinner is ready. So hold on. Okay. So I wasn't sure, I just wanted to like, if we didn't like each other in person, then maybe, we didn't have to do this thing. So at the time I worked in a lockdown building, like you couldn't get in unless you had a badge to get in. And so I was like, well, you know what, just come meet me at work during my break and I'll come downstairs and meet you in the parking lot. We'll just say hello and we'll stand by the doors. And if we don't like each other, that's fine. That's fine. We don't have to like each other, but then we would stop texting and talking and move on. So I'm waiting and waiting for the text because he was coming back from Denver because the day before he had went to a Colorado Rockies game and he had spent the night up there and he was coming back. And so he said, oh, I'm here at your work. And so I walked down in this secure building so he couldn't get in. And I go outside and this really tall, handsome, blonde guy gets out and he's wearing big glasses, big black glasses. And he comes out and he's like, wow, you look just like your pictures. And I'm like, yeah, because I try to tell who I am. I try to be honest, And he thought it was so cute. And I asked him to take off his glasses so I could see his eyes, because I think that you can tell a lot by looking in somebody's eyes. And they were the bluest eyes I've ever seen. And they used to look, when he looked at me, they would light up. And he said the same about me. He said my brown eyes would always light up when I looked at him, but it was the same. And I knew instantly, I was like, this guy is mine, gonna be mine. And so Mike worked nights and I worked days. And so we saw each other that day, and then we saw each other the next day and the next day. And we saw each other every single day going forward from the day we met. And I wish I would have remembered at the time that date, but I didn't remember that date. I do remember our first date and actually like going out and having dinner and things, which reminds me, I had asked him if he liked sushi because sushi is my favorite thing. It's just like chef's kiss, and it like when I eat it, like I hear angels like singing and it's sunny and the birds are chirping. That's how it feels when I eat sushi. So I was like, hey, do you want to go out eat sushi? And he says, yeah, sure, I love sushi. And so on our first date, we're eating at this nice sushi restaurant, and then we were gonna go see a movie. So we were sitting down, and he says, why don't you order? And so I did order, and then we're having a drink, and the food comes, and I had then realized that this guy had never eaten sushi before, which was totally fine, but he was trying to impress me, which I don't even know if I ever told him that I knew that he didn't ever eat sushi before, and he was just trying to impress me. But it was just one of the sweetest things that really I was like, wow, this guy really wants to go out with me. And so he would go eat sushi with a girl that he wasn't sure about. But we went and we ate and enjoyed that, and then we went for the movie, and we took a picture in the movies, and that was our first picture together, and it's still hanging in my bedroom. So one day when I do our house tour, I'll show you that picture, because it was me and him on our first date, and we had such a great time. And really, I don't want to cry this video because I'm going to cry later when I tell you about how he passed and that sort of thing. But we were together from that day, and I moved in very quickly with him, and we were not married, but we were engaged pretty quickly. And then we stayed engaged for a long time because this would have been my second marriage, and this would be his third. And so we wanted to make sure that this was it, because we wanted to have our next marriage be it. And so we waited, and we built a life together. We lived in an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, and I had moved all my stuff in because when I met him, he didn't have very many things, and very bare. And so I brought a lot of things with me. And and then a few years later we would buy our dog and have our little happy family. Mike had kids, and so he could not have any more children, so we didn't have our own children, but I never lacked anything, and you know, we had a beautiful relationship. um, they say, you know, there's somebody for everybody, and when I was single and looking for the one that I, you know, I would pray to God for, and like, please God, let this man be a man of faith and a strong man, a good worker, because my dad was a good worker and I was equated like a good man with a worker, I suppose. Let him, you know, he doesn't have to be perfect, he just has to be perfectly for me. And Mike really ticked all those boxes off, and some days I would just sit and be like, wow, God, you did you did it, you brought me the one that I was meant to be with, you know, for the rest of my life. Not knowing what would happen later, but there's nothing that I would change, except maybe I'd want to meet him a little bit sooner than we did. But we've packed, I mean, Mike worked 2 jobs, I worked 2 jobs, because he had a lot of debt, and you know, we were trying to make a good life. We're getting married, we wanted to pay the wedding off in cash, which we did. We just wanted to make good memories. And so one thing I always wanted to do was like, hey, you know, let's go do some fun things. And so he wanted to fish, so we would go fishing, we would go camping, and we did all those things. And no matter how tired he was, he didn't complain. We did things every time we were together. And we just had a great time. And the thing that I miss the most is laughing with him. And I said that again, but you know, sometimes his eyes, his blue eyes would light up, and I knew he was thinking of something funny that he was about to tell me. And I'll never forget the last time I was like, wow, his blue eyes, they got me. Sorry. His blue eyes, when they would light up and then he was about to tell me a joke, I would start laughing before the joke or whatever he was going to tell me that he found funny, because I just knew how funny it was going to be. And so, sorry. Some days I can talk about him and be just fine, and other days it hits me like how great of a loss I have. Or all of us have, because everyone that lost Mike lost him. But he was the type of man, I should have got a tissue, but I did not. He was the type of man that he would give the shirt off his back if he could. He would always try to help anybody. He worked at a children's hospital, and he was like a 6'2", 6'3", maybe 6'2", I don't remember, tall man, and he had a big chest. He wasn't fat, he was very thin actually on the bottom. Like, he looked like Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles, how he had sort of that V shape to him, if you know what I'm talking about. And you might hear my doggie, she's coming to see me because I'm crying. Mama's okay, I'm okay. But he was a big, kind of imposing dude, and he had a big beard a lot of times, and I always wondered like how the kids at Children's Hospital didn't get, you know, scared of him, because he was so tender-hearted, and he spoke softly, and he would tell me funny stories about how he would call his little patients like sir or ma'am, and they just loved it. And he just, you know, he was just a very good person. And so I don't know where I was going with that story, but that's just sort of who he was. And he would laugh, and he always made friends wherever he would go. And he always used to say, like, I don't understand why people just talk to me, but if you talk to Mike, he would talk back, and he would get to know you and make you laugh. And so I think that's the best type of people there are in this world. And like I said, I think that God, when he sent me Mike, ticked off all the boxes that I wanted, and I really believed that we would be together for the rest of my life. Mike was really fit. You know, when I first met him, he had abs and everything. And so we sort of lived our life. And I'm a cancer survivor, and then I'm, you know, not the healthiest person, but I'm not like dying or anything. But we always I just assumed that I would be the one to die first, and so we sort of lived our life like that. So when we got our life insurance policy, mine is bigger than his, and we just, you know, we didn't dwell on the fact that one of us would die. Yes, we were prepared because we were prepared to spend the rest of our lives together, but I guess I was unprepared of how short of a time we would get. But when we were together, it was the best moments of my life. And like I said, he wasn't perfect. Like, he came with this huge amount of debt, and monetary debt is what I'm talking about. But some of the things that we think about, and he would tell me too, is like, I'm his longest relationship that he ever had, and his life had, you know, I brought color into his life, which is terribly romantic if you think about it. If somebody says that to you. But it's just the little things. He would buy me flowers every Friday, and so I started dubbing them Flower Friday. And yes, that seems wasteful, but he wanted to do it. It was something that brought him joy, and so I let him do it. He would bring me coffee every day. He got Starbucks every single day. In fact, that's a funny story. There was 2 things he said I couldn't tell him not to do when we got together. And the first one was, I couldn't dictate like how his relationship is with his kids. I could guide him on that, and I tried to, but his relationship with his kids and his Starbucks habit, I couldn't say anything about that because he made the money and he was gonna, you know, buy Starbucks if he wanted. And so sometimes I joke that I wonder if Starbucks misses him as much as we do, because he was there every single day, at least twice a day. And so I hope they miss him. And in fact, at his funerals, we got a cup. They called him White Mocha Mike. And so sometimes we drive up to a Starbucks that wasn't one of our regulars. And I'm not kidding you. Somebody would be like, hey, it's White Mocha Mike, because he always got the white mochas there. And so they knew him and they loved him as well. So that was a funny story. And so at his funeral, somebody brought a cup that said White Mocha Mike. I think it was one of my sisters. And I'm sorry if I'm forgetting who did that. Or maybe I did it. I might have did it, actually. I can't remember, excuse me. But he was just this type of guy that I knew he was going to be mine when I met him. And we had both had relationships that were not great prior. And so we really, I think, cherished our time together and really came together as 2 adults that wanted a partnership and didn't want one, you know, he didn't control me. I didn't control him. He let me be who I am, and I let him be himself, and we just sort of lived, and it was amazing, and we had a great time, and that's how I met him. You can ask me questions if you need anything. I think I'm forgetting a whole bunch of stuff, but he was just the greatest person I could have met. And so sometimes when I think about when people tell me I should date again, and I think about dating again, because I am sort of in that place in my life that maybe I could do it again, I just think that it might be hard for me to start and not judge somebody by Mike's standards. And he you know, the bar is set really high, and I don't know if it would be easy to meet those standards that he set for me. But he really did change me. He changed me. He made me a better person. He made me more of a person of faith as well. And he always says that, like I said, I brought color into his life. He said he liked the light in my eyes. And he liked how I looked at him, because he said my eyes lit up, and he said he was just the most happy when he was with me. And I would tell him, like, you know, you should go out with your friends, go do something with your friends, because they're gonna think that I hijacked you and stole you. But he would tell me that I was his best friend, and he wanted to be with me. So whatever we were doing, he wanted to do it with me. So, you know, that's the sort of thing I miss, is those little things. Or like, whenever he left my side, he kissed me. Yeah, whether it was just going to the bathroom or the kitchen or to work, he gave me a goodbye kiss. And he did it the last time I saw him as well. I was working from home, and I did closed captioning for TV at that time, and I was doing a show on ESPN. And I was captioning, and it was more like a voice captioning, although you could type some if you had to. But the last time I saw him, alive was he was going to the store, and so he came over and like tickled my back, and I'm doing my captioning work, and you know, he's like, bye babe, I'll be back. And so he gave me a little kiss up here, and then I, you know, blew him a kiss, and I mouthed I love you, and that was the last time I saw him. Well, alive, as my Mike. So but someday I hope I'll get to see him again. And I know that that sounds funny to some of you, but I believe in Jesus and God, and I know that he's in heaven because he did too. And I do believe I'll get to see him. And so that gives me hope as well one day that I'll get to see him. But I wouldn't have changed anything in our life at all. Except that I could have known him longer. But tell me the story about your life and love and how you met. If you have lost a spouse or a partner, let me know in the comments below what you think. And again, sorry, I'm so choked up. But thank you for liking my video. Please like and subscribe and come back so you can see my other videos. And I hope that we get to start a community here, that we get to talk to each other. So please let me know how you're doing. All right, take care. You are loved and you are never alone. Thank you.